Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar. This is our third part, or this is the third webinar that we've done. It's been a big series between the guys at MyOutDesk and us at LionDesk. And today I'm actually pretty excited because I get to talk to Daniel versus Daniel talking to me. So as you guys all know, Daniel Ramsey here with us, the CEO and founder of MyOutDesk. Pretty fantastic company, but today we're going to be talking about a lot of good things, kind of wrapping this whole thing up, this whole mastering your 2018 business. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about technology, best practices, and leverage. So really taking your business and automating the entire process from start to finish, finding the weak points, identifying them, and then bringing in the help that you need in order to achieve really what it is that your goals are set out to be. So everybody say hi to Daniel.
Well, yeah, and if you're here, go ahead in the notes and just say where you're from, maybe what I love hearing what agents struggle with, because that's what we like to do is help. I mean, Randy and I are both in that same space where we just like to provide value to our industry and help folks. So Angie from Tulsa, welcome. I love that. Tulsa.
Oklahoma. I was just there for their real estate association conference.
Oh, okay, good. Well, maybe that's why she's joining us, huh?
It could be. Yep. I was. I had a good time. A lot of great agents out in Oklahoma for sure.
Awesome. Well, so let's dive in. I mean, today we're going to talk about a lot of different things, but the first thing is just kind of the technology piece, right? And so one thing that I think there's been a massive shift, and we need to nail that. We got James from Miami. I wonder if it's hot in Miami right now, you know?
Probably. It's warmer than here, that's for sure.
But, you know, the thing that's happening now is technology. We've got 80% of the client journey, and I'll break that down, but 80% of the client journey is happening before a conversation or before a meeting. And that's an interesting thing. And Randy, I'd love to hear about what you guys do and like how that, and kind of some of your thoughts around that, you know?
Yeah, well, it's marketing as a whole is changed, right? And how you do that. It's never been easier to reach your customers, but how you reach them is different. Whereas 20 years ago, you know, you could use like direct response marketing, like this is the only piece of mail that I'm going to get, so I'm going to call this person. And now the landscape has gotten so competitive that you need to be unique, and you need to take a look at that sales funnel that you have, and you need to implement certain pieces of technology to do the things that you want to do. So it's not just about direct response. It's awareness. There's a lot of other things that need to go into your approach and how you do it than you could have, let's just say 20 years ago, right? Or even 5 years ago. It's different.
Well, and I think, things like, when I started in the business, like I'm 14 years now as a real estate broker. And when I started as a business, like I had a cell phone, but when smartphones came out, it was like, oh my God. And back then email crushed it. But now I think email is dead. And sometimes you have to actually use a multi-channel approach. And so I'm curious, like, what's some of your suggestions around that? And like, how would you go about getting to your clients and authentically communicating with them? You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that email's dead. I still think it's a really powerful way. It's just different. I mean, like you said, this is 10 years old, right? Not that old. This thing's come a long way for the most part. And it's not dead, but you know, if you were around 7-8 years ago, that email, like every email counted. Do you remember that? Like, oh, I got an email, I got to read it, right? So you had this huge open rate amongst emails. And as marketers catch on, we ruin things, right? And, you know, there goes the attention of the email. So what's the next thing? And I think that we had a really good conversation on our first webinar, you know, about text messages. Right? Like now people are texting you to say, hey, do you have time to talk? And if somebody calls you out of the blue, you're like, why? You know what I mean? So like, it's just changing, and all of it will continue to change. Like instant message is something that I am a huge believer in. I love, you know, whether it's WhatsApp or instant message on, you know, the Facebook Messenger, Instagram, DM, you are literally most people don't understand how easy it is to get in contact with somebody utilizing those platforms. Like I contact CEOs of big companies all the time that I never thought that they would ever give me the time of day.
Right.
And it's because like I followed them on Instagram and I started liking their stuff, and then I message them directly. And if you like their stuff and if you comment on their stuff enough, like they start to put one and one together, and then you send them a direct message and you get a response back and you're like, it's pretty sweet, you know? So it's just changing. So I don't think that it's dead. I just think that it's less effective. So you have to do a lot more of it. Make sense?
Well, yeah. And I also, yeah, I'm with you, but I also believe that you have to be a little bit different in your approach, right? Whereas before you could say, oh, here's the best way to sell your home in the winter. You know, it's raining or freezing, right? How to sell your home when it's below 30 degrees if you're in Minnesota or something. I don't know. But the reality is now you have to have a specific, targeted, more authentic message. And then your follow-up has to be laser fast. If somebody consumes your content as a real estate person or raises their hand on your website and says, yeah, I'm interested, like you've got to be there and immediately available. And that's really freaking hard as a real estate guy, right? I mean,
it's a job, you know, like, and you're right. You do have to change the way that you do those types of things. And I think that the person or the real estate agent that delivers the most amount of value consistently, i.e. probably content, right, is certainly going to win at least the attention of the agent. And then that speed to lead. Like we both know within the first 5 minutes, you have to do it. I've been talking to a lot of ISAs within brokerages and offices, and it's night and day. The response that they're getting from responding to leads within 5 minutes versus 15, 20, 30, 40, and beyond.
Yep.
So your approach does have to be different. You have to do a lot more of it, a lot more consistent. You have to stay on it. And you have to be on top of it when that person's ready, because if you're not ready, they already forgot your name.
Well, you know what's wild too is the average buyer or seller in this market has they've prolonged the time frame from when they originally register or start consuming content to when they actually are ready to be in contract. Like I was reading a study where it used to be 3 to 6 months, and now it's like 9 to 14 months. Which is insane. And so like, how would you create like a systematic approach utilizing technology to keep in contact with people? Like what would you think, you know?
Yeah, I preach what's called like a blended campaign. And I don't know if I talked about this on the last one, but I think it has to be a combination of all of these things, right? The more times that you can appear throughout those touch points at different levels and different platforms, utilizing different technology and different messaging, I think that that's really the way. So what I mean by that is, you know, when maybe a lead comes in initially, you know, they're going to get a text message right away. Maybe they're going to get a phone call right away, and you're going to stay on top of them, or you're going to have an ISA stay on top of them. And at the same time, you're going to be, you know, maybe doing what's called like a kind of like a stalk. You know, you're going to see if they're on Instagram, or find out if they're on LinkedIn and try to connect with them there. I even do this personally, you know, at MyOutDesk. If there's somebody who reaches out and like they go dark on me, like I'll find them on all the platforms, friend them, like their stuff, whatever, try to get with them. And at the same time, we're text messaging them. I'm trying to IM them. So I'm using as many different tools as possible, just trying to connect and to bring more value in one way or another, right? Yeah. It's not like, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? Right? It's like, you know, like I got your name, your phone number, your email. I want you to be with me for as long as we possibly can. In the realtor's life, you know, like agents, if you sell a house one time to somebody, you should sell them another house. And it's so much easier to, and it's like less than 50%. And it's because they're like, I don't know where my agent went. So by utilizing these strategies, and it's a job, I mean, it's a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. Like, I think that that's probably the best way to go about it. But agents are so focused on like today and tomorrow and they're not as focused on a year from now or 18 months from now or 24 months from now. Like Amazon and Facebook are thinking 5, 10, 15, and they have deep thinking groups within their organizations that are trying to think about what the industries and what the world's going to be like in 30 years from now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, you don't have to think 30 years, but just be thinking a year from now and 2 years from now, like where you are now and how you're going to get there, and the steps and the work that it actually takes to get there.
Well, and I'd add, again, at the beginning of this, I talked about a client journey, and I want to break that down a little bit because it's shifted. We talked about, it used to be 3 to 6 months from when somebody raised their hand to doing business, right? Well, now it's 9 to 14 months, and that means the client journey is elongated. And a client journey is like when somebody thinks they're going to sell a house all the way to the point where they sign a contract and you get to put a sign in the yard, right? And so here at MyOutDesk, we like to say, well, what are the most important things that you can do to create an online presence, create a brand, utilizing, whatever social media platforms you're on, and also a virtual assistant. And so we focus on this thing called the 3 R's of MyOutDesk. And it's really important because, look, referrals are the lifeblood of your business, right? Recommendations, so your clients out there in the universe raising their hand and screaming about how awesome you are. And then the reviews, online reviews. Like, when I meet somebody, and you probably do the same thing, Randy, when there's an intro to somebody, like I've got a couple intros right now in my email inbox. I'm looking on their Facebook page. I'm looking at their LinkedIn page. I want to know if this person's normal before I schedule an hour of my time with them. And I think that's a big deal. And so what we're using our virtual assistants for, and a lot of our clients are creating those referrals and reviews and doing testimonials, and snapping photos and putting them on social media platforms and congratulating people and connecting people. And like that is what it's about when it comes to thinking long term about how to generate more business. You've got to have a footprint, in the universe, and that means online right now.
So that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, the reviews part, right?
Yes.
Like everybody who sells a house should have reviews done from their agents, right? There's no skipping out on that. Like now more than ever, I'm not a big fan of Yelp. People do well on Yelp, that's fine. But I personally think that you own your Facebook business page. So like that's where it should be. And then you can reuse those reviews, right, on your website or whatever. Or Zillow, but I personally think Facebook is a place. But even automating that little piece can go so far. So here's a quick little tip, and then I'll let you go on. Agents, or when working with a client, their most happy point in the relationship is at the time of accepted offer. Okay, so that's we've been searching whether it's buyer or listing, right? Like we've wanted to get this, we got an offer, we've accepted the offer. People are happy and excited at that point, right? That's the point that all agents should have a link to their Facebook business page reviews, facebook.com/your business name /reviews, I think is what it is.
Yeah, super easy.
And right after you get off the phone with that, copy and paste that link and text them that and say, hey, would you mind doing a review for me? Right? Yep. And if not at that point, at the time of closing, given if the closing goes well, that's another really good opportunity. Those are two euphoric moments for that buyer-seller relationship, right? Or client-agent relationship. So key that up. I love that, the referrals and the reviews, but reviews is really good because you get reviews and then, maybe send those people an email next month and say, hey, do you know any friends? And then their friends are going to check you out and they're going to say, oh, I know Sally Smith. They live in my neighborhood. So you can run a campaign against a specific neighborhood where you target or you farm. And then there's 15 reviews from people in their neighborhood that they know that their kids play. You know what I mean? Yeah. It all plays well. So that's a really good point. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Well, and I would even go recommendations in our world is number one, we like NPS, and most real estate people don't focus on on the client's experience. And so when you talk about a client journey, you're talking about, like, and you said it, when they're euphoric, like that's when you want to capture a review. Well, you also want to capture a testimonial at that time. You also want to ask them how likely they are to refer friends and family to you. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to refer friends and family? All of this can be automated. We utilize Client Heartbeat, which is a technology, and it's 100% ran virtually. So that when a client signs up, we get an NPS review. When they hire their first virtual assistant, they get an NPS survey, and we ask them the question, how likely are you, and when we get 9s and 10s, that's when you follow up and say, would you be open to doing a testimonial? And then you record a live video like this. I mean, and then you can utilize that on all of the different platforms. And so we believe, and this is, and I bring this up because we're talking about technology and leverage, right? But we believe that the only way you build a real estate company that's worth selling is that 50% of your business comes from reviews, referrals, and recommendations. And if that's not the case for you right now, then we need to get you some help to outsource everything that you're doing, that is administrative or marketing, so you can focus on this aspect of your business, because it is one of the highest use things you can do within a real estate team.
Yeah, it's got to be predictable. But here's the thing, Daniel. I'm super fortunate that I get to talk to a lot of awesome agents out there, and they all, most of them seem to struggle with the same thing, which is like, now more than ever, you have to do so much more, right? Yeah. Like you just got to do a ton. Like I got to do this and I got to do this. And again, I'm trying to tell you guys to focus down the road, but I get that you still have to do all of these things today, and it's bringing on the right help, right? Like, yeah. How can I get somebody to help me? And I think that that's kind of what's so cool about, what you guys do. Like, can you explain that a little bit more? Like how to delegate the task and how to find these people and what it all takes in order to give the agents the freedom that they want so that they can focus on money-making tasks, right? Yes. Revenue generating tasks, building the business, focusing on the business. Yeah. And not so worried about like, shoot, I forgot to send a text message for the review or the referral. You know what I mean? Like, how can they get away from that?
Yeah. So I love it. So we started with technology, and I think a platform for someone, whether it's a virtual assistant or a physical assistant, is like key, because if you have a system, then activities happen. And our biggest fear, and I had this fear too when I first started out, was how do I know it's being done right? How do I know that, my clients are being handled a particular way? How do I know that everything's being done on time? And the only way to do that is to have a system like MyOutDesk or a transaction coordination system, so you can get rid of that administrative work. And the best thing you can do is just know exactly what your client's journey is, and then document it, and then figure out what pieces of that journey is required for a licensed person versus an assistant. And this is really the first step, is like, what are my highest and best uses? And then what could I give away? One of my favorite clients is up in Washington. She says, outsource, everything that's virtual should be outsourced. Like everything that you can do electronically, like for this. So for instance, we're on Facebook Live, right? So we have our operations manager, who's our marketing person in the Philippines, coordinating this video right now. After it's done, they'll put it into a format, give it an intro and an outro. They'll give questions. They're basically going to format this so it goes out to our entire database, my database, Randy's database. And these are the kind of tasks that don't require me, and they don't require Randy. We're here, we're talking, we're sharing our knowledge, trying to give love to the space. And that's what our highest and best use is, while everything else is stuff that should be given to a virtual assistant or an assistant in my world. And so that's step one. Step one is just determining what should be done. Like, what should I stop doing and what should I start doing? And we call that a sticky challenge. Randy's like, what the heck is a sticky challenge?
I was going to ask, you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. So sticky challenge. Here's a really simple way to do that. And a client of ours who's an amazing client shared this with me a couple of years ago, and I was like, this is brilliant. And so we wrote a blog post about it. We've helped our clients do it. And all you do is just record what you do on stickies throughout the day. Like from the moment you start working till you end the day, if you're working, write it down, what it is and how much time it took to do. And then you just let the stickies pile up day after day. And after a week or two of doing that, then go back and try to systemize, what kind of tasks. Are these sales tasks? Are these administrative tasks? Are these marketing tasks? And then try to assign a dollar value. Randy, one of the biggest things is that I'm worth a lot more connecting with people like you and calling clients and having conversations. I'm not worth much if I'm doing administrative tasks. Like my dollar per hour is super high when I'm talking to people, and yours is too. Like if you're a real estate person, you are born to connect, right? Create authentic relationships, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. And so everything else should be given away. And that's how we go about doing the first round of analysis and just understanding, could I create a job? Could I create enough work for a person based on everything that's not dollar productive, right? And that's our sticky challenge.
So, I have to call people, right? I have to follow up with leads. I have to do all of these different things. And, how so many people, I think, have a hard time letting go,
yes,
right? And giving into that.
Yes.
What's your, all you do is work with people, helping them with this whole process.
Right.
What do you have to, what do you tell them, to just let go and try it, right? Because even you do the sticky challenge and you do this, the only way to truly just completely knock it out of the park is leverage. Okay. Yes. Right. We know that. There is no way that you're going to do 150 deals a year on your own by yourself. If nope. So call me and I want to learn how you do it. Right. But yeah. How do you explain to people, and even people like me, where you don't think that people can do what you do?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I feel well, nobody can talk to the head of HR the way that I can, but they probably, how do you get them to take that leap?
Well, we have a great question from James. He asked, how I'm sure my prospects get tired of my constant contact. So he's out there and he's asking questions. My world around all of this is creating that client journey. Much of it is online. A lot of content is getting consumed. Somebody raised their hand and said, I'm interested in talking to you because I'm thinking about buying or selling a house. When they do that, your job is to deliver value. And so, James, this is directly what I would do. I would break down how much value am I providing to my buyers and my sellers? What things am I giving to them that make sense? Why are you smiling, Randy?
I like where you're going with it.
Yeah. So what am I giving to them that helps them buy the best house or sell the house for the highest dollar amount in the fastest time? I'm giving them things of value. And if they consume it, so you have to have line desks to let you know that they're consuming it, right? So I'm not saying just call them and be dumb and do a lot of tasks. I'm saying give them something, and then in the system, it'll tell you, the technology will tell you if they consume it. If they consume it, then give them something else. And if they consume that, then shoot them a text message and say, hey, it looks like you're thinking about selling. Should we meet, or let's get together, or I'd love to show you how I net the highest dollar amount in the fastest time for all my clients. Here's a testimonial. By the way, have you just saw the reviews online for my company? We kick butt. By the way, here's how you net the most money.
I want to chime in here real quick. So I get that, how to not exhaust your list with the same old regurgitated junk, right?
Yeah.
I work for a real estate technology company that services real estate agents, right? That's right. All that I do. I work with thousands of agents over the course of a year. We can't constantly be sending them the same email, 20% discount. Here's our CRM, here's this. We have to constantly be delivering value as well, right? So even if we send them an email or a white paper of, Here's 50 awesome text messages to try out that seem to have good responses, right? Here's a case study from a broker who's utilizing MyOutDesk for recruiting. It's not all like sell, you know what I mean? Like, or as an agent, market update, here's the houses that are available. It goes beyond that. It could be you going into local stores in your community, you know, doing little videos with the owners of the videos talking about the specials, right? You're bringing value to some people, or all the upcoming town hall events or little festivals that are going on. So don't just think about value being like, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to sell? Market update. Bring value by adding to their knowledge, education, fun, right? Like all of these different things. So I think if you create a blended campaign using that strategy, you won't exhaust your list. I like restaurants. So if you kept sending me, you know, like all the best dishes at the best restaurants and like when the best time is and their happy hours, and I would probably pay attention to that more than I would pay attention to the market update. So just think a little bit outside the box. Just don't be so like just focused on this one thing.
Well, and I think, you know, email's not dead, but in the 1990s, we could just build out a canned email, do 30 different canned emails and send them out, and then we'd get responses because everybody was reading them. Today, you know, on my street a couple months ago, there was a fire on a house, like one of my neighbor's house. I called 911 and they sent, like I was walking with my girls on the street and there was a fire, and I knocked on the neighbor's door and I said, hey, there's a fire, right? And so like a very appropriate email for my neighborhood, because it was big news. We don't ever have fires, not like Santa Barbara or other parts of the world, but you know, a very time appropriate email campaign would be like how to avoid kitchen fires in East Sacramento. That's where I live, in East Sacramento, downtown Sacramento. Like, because that was big news for us. I mean, it was on Facebook, it was in the local paper, it was in our community paper. I mean, it was like a big deal to have this massive fire. So that's a time appropriate message. And if I was a real estate broker practicing in my neighborhood, I would have shot a Facebook live video right then and there. I would have handed that off to my virtual assistants, and we would have sent an email to everybody who lives in East Sacramento. We would have posted it on all the community sites. We would have been talking to everybody. And at the bottom, we'd be say, by the way, you know, give us a call. We'd love to help people, right? At the bottom, right? And so I think it's really important to be timely with your messages, to be local, to be authentic, to really kind of greet them where they want to be greeted. You know, if they don't want to get a list of homes right now, don't give them a list of homes. Find out what they want and then deliver that. We got a couple questions. Edward is asking, how many homes a year do you sell? Edward, I'm a broker, 14 years. I've sold thousands of homes. I've bought and sold personally hundreds of them. But here's what you really want to know. Our company has helped 4,000 real estate brokers just like you get leverage in their business. Like, imagine that, 4,000. I'm 10 years into owning MyOutDesk. What we do is we serve by providing leverage and a path to success. That's what we do. I mean, hands down. And what you're really asking is, can we help you? And that is exactly what I know we can do. This is great. So Tania, I hope I'm saying that right. We've been told not to send emails not related to real estate. No recipes, restaurants maybe, because it would be about the community, but more on homeowners things, painting, best colors, new services, new floors. I think that's great, and I think that's good. I would mix in current events. I would mix in local, you know, okay, so here's and Randy, you said like, what could a virtual assistant do for you? One of my favorite clients that we have uses his virtual assistant to have a community website. Like, they created a neighborhood website, every new restaurant, every new business that opens, all the local things like workout, you know, like the spin classes and the yoga classes and the new coffee places. Every single time there's a new business or some community event that's happening, it goes into their Facebook community, and then he emails it out to people in that particular farm. And all of that is ran by a virtual assistant. All he does is go to the place, interview the people, talk about the specials, And then there's an entire system behind that, utilizing a platform like MyOutDesk to really drive engagement with the local community. And what's wild is he tells me that most people in the neighborhood go to his Facebook page to find out what's really happening in the neighborhood. Like if there's live music, if there's specials going on, like that, he's created a community page where he's just the guy. And we're talking about best practices with a virtual assistant. Another client, this gal, I love her. She's amazing. She does these client-focused events that are, referral based. And we were talking about the 3 R's, referrals drive business. And what she does with her virtual assistant is she goes to our database, invites everybody to a coffee where, the company buys a latte for them. It's $3. It's a local coffee shop. So if you're in that neighborhood and it's a farm, it's not that expensive. It doesn't cost any money. Sometimes they book music. Sometimes they have somebody, doing a performance or a poem or something like this. But you don't have to do any of that. She just says, come by for hugs, high fives, and a latte. And a virtual assistant makes the calls to invite them, sends out the stuff on Facebook, makes sure everybody registers. And her physical staff, all they're doing is at the front door, taking everybody's information and asking the question like, who do you know that wants to buy or sell their house? That's the question and who do you have that you could refer to us? And like literally there's a form and you fill out the form and then you put the form and you get a ticket and there's some grand prize, right? And so everybody's excited to fill out the form and list some people that they know. And it's just like, it's brilliance. And the emails, the Facebook invite, the booking, the organizing all of the different agents, because she has like 12 agents who are selling on her team. So organizing all of their database, all of those things are handled 100% by a virtual assistant. Dude, we got lots of, I love all these questions. What would you say?
I can answer so Carrie, Kaki Roberts, what would you say is the best way to share a listing on social media? Do you like small videos, but do they say have links to click, realtor.com, etc.? So I know what she's saying here. Here's what I'm going to tell you not to do. Don't share your MLS link. Okay, that's the first thing that I don't want you to do, because most of the MLSs, depending on you're on CoreLogics or Matrix or whatever, the share page typically isn't responsive. It's not very
It's
good.
not mobile friendly.
Yeah.
And
so
most of this is on mobile.
So don't do that. Actually have professional photos and upload them, and then create what's called a carousel, which is a swiping thing.
Yep.
That would be the first. Videos as well, but the carousel with really nice pictures. And then if you're utilizing a website that has single property websites, you can then drive them there, okay,
Yes.
to give them more details. On that page, there's a call to action, where they can enter in their contact information, right, where you're capturing, or maybe to reveal the other 39 pictures that you might have, right? So you might give them 20 pictures, and then you might have another 30 ones of the cool finished basement, and they can enter in their information. Or on that single property website, you can have a retargeting pixel that's provided by Facebook. It's a little piece of code. I am not a coder, but I can do this. You just copy and you can paste it onto that. So even if they leave your page, you can then follow them around the internet. I'm sure that you guys have all been on Amazon, looked at a pair of shoes or a sports drink or whatever it is, and then it follows you everywhere. That's what's called retargeting. So don't just share an MLS link or a link to your website, right? Yeah. Actually physically upload professional photos, descriptive, and then say, if you want to see more, you can click here. Going to a single property website is what I see that works the best from the people that I work with. Okay.
I want to add something in, because there's a whole, so first of all, listings have babies, and on average, you should be able to get 2.3 new listings for every one listing you have. But you have to employ a strategy. And one of the strategies that we give for free when somebody signs up is a neighborhood strategy. So Number one, you have a listing. I believe you should be targeting people who are looking in that neighborhood and not blasting it on your social media site. Like, no, I do not want to see houses in Minnesota. And I might follow you online because I follow a lot of our clients. But what I want is content that's specific to what I would like to see. So if you have a great marketing thing, I'll read it, because a great marketing, we're marketing guys. We want to know what's going on. And so I'll read great marketing from agents across the country. But what I won't do is look at a house. And so what's important about that is, in your database, like if you're using MyOutDesk, you would have your clients segmented by the neighborhood or the area that they want to buy in. And then when you have a listing in that area, you would deliver that listing to those people and say, would you like to preview this before it hits the market? And you might do the surrounding neighborhoods, but you wouldn't want to, for instance, give it to somebody who's 30 miles away, or give it to somebody who wants to sell their house and isn't looking to buy a house. You've got to be, today's world, everything is so much more digital. And what we're talking about is inbound marketing. I love listings to leads. We're not dropping names here, but listings to leads they do the single property websites.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah, well, and I'm good friends with them, and they do a brilliant job at lead capture because that's what they do. But Randy, your question about what would a virtual assistant do, this is a perfect conversation, because if I get a listing, I'm prepping that listing to get 2 to 3 more listings in that particular neighborhood. So my virtual assistant is creating all of the single property landing pages inside listings to leads. It's segmenting my database about who would be the people that I'd want to deliver a pre-listing kind of informational email to them about it. People who are buying in that neighborhood who, would actually be interested. I'm not going to send, a 2-bedroom home to somebody who needs 4 because they have 3 kids. You're going to segment your database around that. MyOutDesk has the possibility to do that, and you can really focus your message to them. Number 3, I'm going to pull you can get this from data providers. I'm going to pull every single email, phone number, everybody I can in that neighborhood, anybody that's in that farm, and you're going to get everybody's email and cell phone, and I'm going to have my virtual assistant invite them to a neighbors only open house. Okay. I'm going to then create a Facebook page or a Facebook invite, and I'm going to send that out. I'm going to create some marketing materials like door hangers and door knockers, because surprise, knocking on a door, maybe you don't want to do that in Minnesota right now, right? Because it's freezing. But in the spring, you want to knock on the door and just invite people to your open house and ask them, this is the question. You ask them, what's your plans for your home? Do you see yourself moving over the next 3 to 5 years? And that simple question is, would you like to see your neighbor's house? Would you like to choose your neighbor? Would you like to invite some of your friends to move into the neighborhood? That is a powerful conversation to have. So I would do Facebook campaigns. I would do email campaigns. I would have a virtual assistant run all of that. I would also have them call the neighborhood and just a very simple script. Hey, we're having an open house on Thursday afternoon. It's going to start at 4 o'clock. We're going to have cookies. We're going to have, tea or whatever it is you're going to have. And you're going to invite the entire neighborhood to see this house. Then you're going to do door knocking. Then you're going to hang. And then you're going to get everybody in the world is going to hear about when the house goes on the market. You're going to hear about when the house gets an active offer accepted, and say, God, we had 10. You're going to tell everybody in the neighborhood we had 10 offers on this house and we could only choose 1. That means we have 9 people right now who want to live in your neighborhood. Do you have any interest in selling over the next couple of years? Like, that question is just so powerful.
Yeah, there's one thing that I picked up from a friend of mine. She does with her higher end homes, and I thought that this was pretty brilliant. She now has she has an assistant that actually does this for her. She does a pre-open house. So it's almost like a private party cocktail hour. And she advertises it with scarcity as part of it. So limited access, you must reserve your seat type of thing. We're having 35 people, and it's kind of more of a hobnobbing type of thing, but it's in her higher end listings. And then she'll actually run Facebook videos about that.
Yeah.
And then there's a register.
Yeah.
So you actually have to register to even get in the door. The open house is coming in a few weeks. This is the pre-open house, preview of the property.
Sure.
And I was like, I thought that was fantastic because you're capturing all those people's information right out of the gate. And this maybe it doesn't work for, a really low end house, but maybe you could have like a picnic. I don't know. I just thought that was really clever that she's generating around 50 actual new leads of people that want to attend the pre-open house that's a little bit more fancy.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I would invite everybody to focus on referrals, focus on your sphere, focus on the neighborhoods that you already have listings and creating more. But that lead capture is so key because once you get them, you can segment your database and say, these are long-term nurtures. I'm just gonna keep in contact and I'm gonna give value versus the people who are like, I want to go right now. And there's a stat that I really like around this. According to NAR, so only 7% of the people who register online actually do a transaction in that time frame. So if I raise my hand and say I want to sell my house, right? It's only 7% of the people actually take action. And that means the other 93% are like in thought process about what they're going to do, right? They're at the beginning of their client journey. They're at the beginning stages of thinking about selling. They're at the beginning stages of thinking about buying. And so it's really important that you create systems to talk to both, the people who are ready now and the people who, are looking down the road, maybe a year or two. Because that's where the money's at, is just creating some consistency. Somebody asked about services. Disregard the question. She's found it. But LionDesk, they're inexpensive in terms of a CRM. And what I like is they connect with all these different third-party tools. And so it's very easy to get a dialer, get the data, get the open house stuff rocking and rolling, get the FSBOs and expireds open and running. Like, that's another area that we help a lot of people, is just prospecting for FSBOs and expireds. Man, I was talking to a guy. They do 170 transactions. They've been in business 24 years. His name was James, and a great guy. He's like the sweetest old man. He's older guy. He's the sweetest old guy in the world, but he won't call FSBOs. And he won't call expireds. He goes, well, I just, if they're interested, I'd like to help them, but he doesn't like prospecting. So we're helping that agent fill a hole in his business by giving him an ISA, and then we're prospecting. So they're pulling all the old ones, and we're just going to call those guys. LionDesk has scripts, LandVoice has scripts, and they all connect, and they all work together. And our people we're going to fill a hole for this broker who's doing a great job. I mean, 24 years, he's got 170 transactions last year, and their goal is to go to 240. And they know that one of the missing pieces in their business is that FSBO and expireds world. So I love, I love, doing that.
Like that's a market. I mean, that's a marketing center all in itself, right? If you're just an agent, right? And let's say that we all know that we can get expireds, we can get FSBOs, we could get past customers. Like, if we could keep our pipeline full, let's just say 50%, or meaning new leads, and we had a part-time assistant or even a full-time VA that was doing nothing but calling and setting appointments, let's just say 25 hours a week for you.
Yeah.
That's 25 hours a week that somebody's actually doing work for you to schedule appointments. And if you want to increase your closings, increase your appointments, right? So it's math. Like, if I have to talk to 100 people, to get 2 appointments to turn into 1 contract, right? Well, now I need to talk to 200, or I need to talk to 300 or 400 or 500, right, to get to those numbers.
Sure.
A full-time person who just does cold calling, and listen, I have to cold calls, right? It's hard. You get a lot of voicemails these days, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to do it, do what you do best and outsource the rest, right? Like just pass that ball to somebody else, record yourself doing it, and give it to these guys.
Yeah, well, you landed on exactly what we do. So we have this thing called the 7-figure agent map. And what we've done is we've mapped out every single stage from I'm a brand new agent to I'm putting $1 million in the bank. Okay. So whether you're making $250,000 on this call or $750,000, we know what your core strengths are, what your challenges are, where you need help. What we do in this map is we'll kind of talk to you about how many leads you're generating every month, what your conversion rates are. I mean, most people don't even know. When they come in, we're talking about like, well, how many leads did you generate last month? How many did you convert? What's your system? And most people are like, well, I'm not really sure. And you've got to have a system like MyOutDesk or something in place so you can kind of measure how you're doing today. Like, what's my effectiveness today? Once we do that, we'll capture who's on your team today. So if you've got a couple agents on your team or a couple, buyer's agents or a listing or a manager or some admin, we'll create your org chart of today, and then we'll help you design the org chart that'll accelerate growth. And it's normal to double as a real estate broker. Like a lot of people are like, I'm going to triple my business. And I always say, hey, that's crazy. Tripling is just not possible, but double is. I mean, going from 200,000 to 400 or 4 to 8, that is a possibility. And we help people by looking at your team, looking at what the holes are. Like James, who's been in it 24 years, doesn't do FSBOs and expireds. We'll plug a person into whatever that hole is, and then help you grow revenue within your business, or do a better job at taking care of your clients, or have a higher quality product. Whatever systems or processes you guys need, that's what the 7-figure agent map is about, is finding out where you're stuck, what's the next level, and how we generate more. And what's good about that too is we give away the strategies. Like, we're going to give away the open house strategy. We'll give away this referral recommendation and review strategy. We'll give these things away because we want you to have success in that endeavor of growing your business. What else? I mean,
hiring, man. Like I see it every day. Even with our customers at LionDesk, they come to us and people just need more help doing a lot more stuff, right? I think that's one thing that I hear every day. I was at a real estate little day conference last week, and that was it. Like, one of the ladies raised her hand and she's like, okay, you're telling me to do Instagram and you're telling me to do expireds and she's like, when am I going to be able to do anything? Right. So that's such a big problem.
Okay. So this is great. I help people with this every single day. Like, I was on a call this morning at 8 o'clock. I'm helping people figure out, it's always a function of do the sticky challenge. So it's a blog post on our website. If you want it, just throw comments in here right now. The first step is just analyzing what you do, okay? The next step is analyze, well, what's the highest thing that I can do? What's the highest and best thing? If you already have a lot of leads, then it's probably converting those leads. If you don't have a lot of leads, then it's generating a lot of leads. If you're already converting, then it's maybe actually the process of taking them from client to revenue. So whatever you're doing within your business, like, the first step is just like, hey, what do I need to get off my plate? What kind of a life do I want to lead? Am I working out? Do I get to spend time with my family? How much money can I allocate to hiring somebody when, my revenue is not growing rapidly? That question isn't really the best question. The best question is like, okay, if I got rid of all of these tasks, what could I focus on to drive revenue, to grow my company? And of all of these tasks, which ones could I give to a virtual professional or virtual assistant? What we do, that is the question that will help you through when you do a strategy call with us and do the 7-figure agent map. Is like, we know how to get this done. We have this the virtual T, and we list everything that you're doing and everything that you're doing that is virtual versus physical. Because guess what? Our people can't open your mail, right? That is just not something possible. But you know what? There's a company out there that will open your mail, scan it, and then send it to your virtual assistant. So you literally can almost outsource everything. I mean, it used to be that when we first started, we tell people, well, we can't go to get lunch for you, but geez, now our virtual assistants order lunch for us. Our virtual assistants schedule the calendar stuff. Our virtual assistants set appointments. Our virtual assistants do all of the administrative tasks and functions within our business. Like, everything is possible now because of how, this technology just works. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm going to answer a question here. Tony asks, how often does MyOutDesk change drips? And is there a notification that goes out? So it's kind of a great question. We do provide drips, but we're not the creators of those drips. So we've opened the platform up to all of our users, and we have tens of thousands of users who utilize our platform, and they share the drips that work for them. It's kind of gotten out of hand. I think that there's like 1,700 different ones to choose from.
Yeah.
Somebody who's doing business in Iowa, and is doing expireds really well, and they want to share that with the community, like, they do it 10 times better than we do.
Right.
Like, we're not gonna hire marketing people to come up with all these different drips if the community's working together to try to help each other. And that's one thing that's been really great about our community, is everyone does try to work together. They're sharing. And like I said, it's gotten out of hand. Like, now there's like 1,700 drips in there, but you can go in and you can see them. So it's not necessarily a notification, but you will see them in the marketing section as they appear. So that's really, I guess, the best answer to that. I had a question for you, Daniel, and I'm going to give everybody a look in on a great way to what I call curate content. So you guys can provide like graphics people that can do their, like, let's just say Facebook posts and stuff like that, or videos and all these other things, and blog posts, and writers, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was talking with an agent just recently at a little mastermind, and I explained to him, this is how I do it, but I know that you have to create blog posts, and you have to do Instagram stuff and Facebook, and you have to do all of these different things. But if you want to truly leverage that, what I recommend doing is, like, if you're going to talk about a specific topic, right, videotape yourself. This is just for you, right? Or you can do it a little bit more professional still with your phone. Videotape yourself doing this, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the specific topic. Mm-hmm. And then from there, pass that video off to, let's just say, somebody in Daniel's company. Then they can take that video and maybe they can chop it up into 3 or 4 small little segment videos that you can schedule at different points throughout the month to go at different platforms. They can take the same video, they can turn it into a blog post. They could turn the same video and turn it into an infographic. They could take the same video, transcribe it into an email, right? You could take one little video that you did that took maybe 2 minutes, and you could turn that into 5 or 6 or 7 different pieces of content that you can be using at different points throughout the next month or 2 months. So don't take the same video and deploy it on all the channels, right? Put this one here, a blog post here, or this. So you're doing one thing by doing the video, giving it to Daniel's team, creating multiple things, and then they're scheduling it, all doing it done. So you took 10 minutes to do the video, send it off, be done with it. That's a great way to leverage yourself and leverage MOD.
Yeah,
sure.
And when you have a tool like MyOutDesk and maybe listings to leads and some of these other tools that kind of like automate that, now you have a really powerful way of communicating with your audience. And I think that's really, I mean, that's where it's at. You get these tools, the technology you need, you find best practices. I give you an example. This client journey thing is, it's for a real estate person, it's like a client, what are you talking about, right? But just go on Google and go client journey for a real estate transaction. They're out there, right? And then match that up and model it. And if you're thinking about hiring a virtual assistant or getting some help or leverage, like, don't do it on your own. Find somebody who's done it already, has the job descriptions, has all the processes and systems, knows how to hire, and then just model that and then implement it in your business. Like, we have this sickness. I had it in the real estate world. It was like this idea that I need to do everything. And then I learned how to just, R&D a lot of stuff, rip off and redistribute. And I'll model, somebody else's email. I'll model somebody else's Facebook campaign. I'll model somebody else's, follow-up campaign inside of a phone system. And then, I don't have to reinvent it. I just say, here, virtual assistant, make it look like this. And then they give it back to me and I'm like, oh my God, that looks great. Here, change this, and then send it out. And that's the way to really kind of, add value really to your team. Looks like it's time. If you're interested in LionDesk and you want to hear more about us, we've got a landing page for you where not only do we give you, so the first one, we talked about the 37 different text messages. We talked about some follow-up campaigns and the best kind of blended automation that you can do. And then this one, we talked about the sticky challenge. So it's all there on LionDesk. On our landing page, it's called MyOutDesk.com with a /LionDesk. And that's without an S, so just LIONDESK, which is great because our names even sound similar. MyOutDesk and LionDesk. This is funny, right? But here's the thing. I know we can help you regardless of where you're at. Come do a 7-figure business map with us. We're going to take you through where you are today, what your goals are for tomorrow. We'll do an org chart. We'll do a breakthrough design, which is, where you're at today, what's the person that you need, the system, or what process do you need to put in place in order to grow, right? So we'll figure that stuff out with you, and we'll do a consultative sale. It's a consultative conversation. It's a consultative sale. If you walk away and you're like, you know what, I'm not ready for a virtual assistant, that's okay. If you walk away and say, I'm not ready for Andy's product, that's okay. We'll still give you a ton of value in the conversation and help focus what your drive should be for 18. Because this is, for instance, all systems grow for 2018, right? That's the intention of this webinar. But yeah, that's the world. Jump on our website, myoutdesk.com /LionDesk. Randy, what would you leave people with?
Yeah, and for any of our LionDesk users that are on, like even that, right? Like if that's something that you want to outsource to Daniel's team, right? And say, hey, listen, here's my database, get it cleaned up, do this. I want campaigns going, whatever, again, just revenue generating tasks is what you want to stay focused on. Like you can do that. I know a lot of people are like stuck being in their CRM all day and they don't want to be. So if that's the case, certainly do that. I think that's probably it. We do, for anybody who's on the call, we do have a new broker product that's kind of cool. That's a really affordable option for brokers that want to provide technology to all of their agents and not, lose their pocket. That's kind of cool. And I don't know, do you want to do any more? Does anybody have any more questions?
Well, what's cool too is as you were talking about the CRM, I want to give you guys like just a little business hack that I use almost every single day. Like when I connect with somebody, I'm not entering their information in the CRM. I'm simply CCing my virtual assistant and they're entering the data into our CRM, creating follow-up tasks, putting it on my calendar. Like they're doing all of that work. If I go to, meet a client or get a business card, I snap a photo of the business card and then email it off or text it off. And then it magically appears, right? And that's the kind of leverage that you're going to need because all that matters in 18 is driving revenue and being as productive as you possibly can. Everything else should be given to an assistant and a virtual assistant. If you're listening to this, if you went through this whole video, I hope you got that we can do everything for you except for list and meet with clients. Like that is your job. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. Randy, as always, you're a badass. We love having you on this call. And guys, jump on our website, MyOutDesk.com /LionDesk. And we're going to give a ton of value for free. Register for a consultation. It'll change your world. I promise. And yeah, man, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you all for taking your time today to spend with us. And if you need anything, we're always here from you.
Yep. Okay, great, guys. Have a great day.